Our final speaker before our refreshment break, our first refreshment break, is Caelie Fish. Caelie is a scientific diver, a rower, a sailor, and an open water swimmer. So she really comes at the ocean through both ocean science and sport. While here, she spent quite a bit of time learning about eDNA and learning in the lab, and her curiosity drove her to study lost marine bony fishes and what it takes to find them. So she worked with Rewild and IUCN on that pursuit, and I can't wait for you to hear about it. Welcome, Caelie Fish.
The idea of exploration, the hidden, the forgotten, the lost, has pulled at me since I was a little girl. In our family's den, the walls are lined in yellow, not paint, but spines. Every single National Geographic magazine since 1932. My great-grandfather started the collection, and we haven't missed an issue since. Those pages weren't just full of animals and landscapes. They were full of possibility. They taught me that seeing the world makes you care about it, that knowledge creates connection. And more than anything, they taught me this: we can't protect what we don't know exists. That idea has stayed with me. It's why a fire was lit when I learned about the nonprofit Rewild and their Lost Species Initiative. Imagine, you're deep in the rainforest on a remote island in Papua New Guinea, and suddenly, you see it. A species lost to science for 140 years. That's exactly what happened in 2022 when Rewild searched for lost birds in partnership with local hunters and scientists with deep generational knowledge of the forest, rediscovered the black-naped pheasant pigeon, known locally as awu. Some of you may recognize this viral video of the moment it was rediscovered of ornithologist Jordan Boersma and local biologist Doka Nason. This rediscovery didn't just bring a species back into the light, it reignited protection for its entire habitat. This incredible rediscovery was part of Rewild's larger Lost Species Initiative, which brings together scientists, local communities, and indigenous knowledge holders to rediscover and protect species that have been lost. In the context of conservation biology, lost means a species that hasn't been documented in the past 10 years, many not even for decades or over a century. They're in this weird limbo, not officially extinct, but totally off the radar. How do we protect animals and plants if we don't know where they live or what threats they face? And why should we care? The natural world is a lot like a house of cards. Every species is a card holding up the structure. Pull out too many, and the whole thing collapses. Biodiversity isn't just about saving cute animals. It's a system that gives us clean air, food, medicine, and a stable climate. Even microscopic organisms matter. Phytoplankton, tiny plant life in the ocean, produce 70% of our oxygen. We rely on them, they rely on nutrients from fish, who rely on coral reefs, who rely on algae, and so on. When we lose species, we're not just knocking down cards. We're risking the fall of the whole house. Starting in 2017, the Lost Species Initiative has compiled a non-comprehensive master list of lost species and comprehensive lists of lost birds, amphibians, small mammals, lost sharks, freshwater fishes, but they have not yet compiled a list of marine bony fishes. This is where my capstone project began. In partnership with Rewild and the IUCN Red List, the global authority that assesses the extinction of risk of species, I set out to compile the first ever global list of lost marine bony fishes. So what is a marine bony fish? There are 3 classes of fishes in the ocean. Marine bony fishes make up the majority of these fishes and are what most people picture when they think of a fish. So tuna, Garibaldi, seahorses, eels, those are all marine bony fishes, unlike sharks and rays, which are cartilaginous fishes, and lampreys and hagfish, which are jawless fishes. Making this list took a long time. And though it may have looked something like this, it felt a lot more like this. Starting with the IUCN Red List, I downloaded all 12,241 marine bony fish species assessed to date. Then, drawing on over 100 search terms used in past efforts to identify the lost species of other animals, phrases like last seen and not collected since, I filtered the species descriptions. After weeks of refining and sorting, the list from 12,241 fish species went to 1,072. I then reviewed each of the lost fish species candidates individually by searching available occurrence records from the Global Biodiversity Information System, or GBIF, a leading open access platform that combines biodiversity records from natural history museums, research institutions, government agencies, and citizen scientist platforms worldwide. I could see the last year and place a record was produced of each species. That list of 1,072 fish species ended up looking like this. In each row, I listed the fish species' scientific name, the year it was last seen, the country it was last seen in, the basis of record, so if it was a preserved specimen or human observation, its habitat, its threats, its range, and its IUCN status, like critically endangered or threatened, though most of their status were listed as data deficient. I then categorized species by how long it's been since there was a record of its existence. In green are fish species we have seen in the past 10 years, so they are not lost. In this tangerine color are species that were last seen in 2015 and 16, so they're not lost either, but they will be considered lost in a year or two. The species in dark orange, reddish, were last seen in 2014. So they are considered lost, but since they were seen so recently, they may be more likely to be rediscovered. And now, in the neon yellow, the stars of the show are the lost marine bony fishes. There are 584 of these. And in gray are species that either had no last seen date or no last seen location. They will need more digging, but for now are considered lost as well. There are 151 of those, totaling to 735 lost marine bony fishes. This list will be formatted to match the other lists of Rewild's Lost Species Initiative and added to their website where it can be accessed publicly so anyone can join the search. This word cloud highlights the countries where lost marine fish species were last recorded. Larger country names may reflect higher numbers of potentially lost species, with the Philippines, Australia, and Indonesia standing out, possibly due to high biodiversity, stronger research efforts, or greater environmental pressures, like overfishing or habitat degradation, causing more species to vanish. Understanding the why behind these clusters will be essential for targeting conservation and rediscovery efforts effectively. Here you can see the years when most lost marine fishes were last seen. The largest clusters, 2013, 10, and 11, may reflect periods of heightened documentation or disappearance. Smaller scattered dates reach back to the early 1900s, even as far as 1874. Research shows that species that have not been recorded in over 50 years are significantly more likely to be extinct. 30% of the lost fish species on this list were last seen in 1975 or earlier, underscoring the urgency of rediscovery efforts. Bias is unavoidable in a data set like this. In actuality, some species may be abundant in the wild, but seem lost simply because no one with access to their habitat has reason or ability to upload data. Other species live in deep or hidden places where we're not looking. This list is a living document designed to evolve. It will never be fully comprehensive, and that's why it matters. Knowing what exists and what we might be losing is the first step in protecting it. Step 2 is rediscovery. Now that we have a list, the question is, where do we begin? You might think to start with species last seen in 2014, considered lost but seen recent enough to be found again. Or maybe those not seen since the 1800s, because knowing if they're truly extinct matters. Or maybe you just picked the coolest looking one. But here's the truth. Species are often prioritized not by urgency or need, but by funding, interest, and charisma. In practice, rediscovery depends less on what's lost and more on who's willing to look. Next month, I'm headed to the Galapagos to search for a lost fish on my list, the Galapagos butterfly damselfish. Once abundant on Galapagos reefs, this species disappeared following an ocean warming event in 1982 and hasn't been seen in over 4 decades. It may represent the first marine vertebrate extinction driven by climate change. Although the damselfish is a compelling rediscovery target due to both its ecological role and symbolic significance, it wasn't the original focus of this expedition. This trip was initially designed around a completely different animal, the Wellington solitary coral, a coral also thought extinct following the same ocean warming event. Because this coral expedition was already funded, it created a rare chance to add the Galapagos butterfly damselfish as a bonus research target. This is a great example of how rediscovery priorities often arise, not always from ecological urgency or strategic planning, but from logistical opportunity, existing funding, and collaborative momentum. This expedition, led by my capstone committee chair, Christina Biggs, and supported by local partners, will test the ability of environmental DNA, or eDNA, which is genetic material shed into the water by organisms. By analyzing this genetic material, we can detect species that elude divers, cameras, or even decades of surveys, especially the many rare and deep-dwelling fishes on this list. We'll sample across 12 dive sites in the Galapagos Marine Reserve at 2 depth zones, including rebreather dives down to 200 feet where the Galapagos butterfly damselfish may still persist. To better understand the applications of eDNA for species rediscovery, I spent the last year working in 2 specialized eDNA labs. I developed practical skills in eDNA collection, extraction, and analysis, enabling me to contribute meaningfully to future field expeditions and conservation programs. I hope this list becomes a catalyst, sparking future expeditions and empowering citizen scientists to search for the 735 lost marine bony fishes that may be silently vanishing from our oceans, unseen, unsearched for, and unprotected. Rediscovery is possible. With tools like eDNA, targeted effort, and a shift on what we choose to value, we can bring the lost back into focus. Thank you. Any questions?
Great job, Caelie. Yeah, quick question. The GBIF platform is really cool. I've used it for some research as well. One thing is you have to meet specific criteria to get listed on there, correct, for observations?
Yes.
And so maybe how are you guys bridging that gap between maybe other observations that might not be met in the GBIF criteria that are getting
GBIF, what Yehuda is talking about, is a wonderful platform that, as I mentioned, brings together records from museums, institutions, citizen science platforms. It brings it all into one place to show all the records for a specific species, but it's not everything. It's not comprehensive, and that's known. So it's the best we have so far. And as I mentioned, this list is non-comprehensive. It's never going to be completely perfect because there are definitely species that are lost that aren't on it that we just don't know about because we've never seen them. But yeah, we do, and in certain times where we have questions about the records on GBIF, we reach out to experts when we can. I worked a lot with many ichthyologists in different institutions and collections to kind of confirm and cross-reference where we can. But yeah, it is definitely difficult.
Hi, Caelie.
Hi.
Such an interesting topic. I've got a question.
Sure.
Has Rewild rediscovered any lost species on their list?
It sure has. Obviously not any lost fishes yet. Maybe in the Galapagos, we'll see, hopefully. But there have been about 13 rediscoveries already among other animals and plants. And that's just since 2017, so pretty exciting, yeah.
Wonderful. Great presentation, Caelie.